Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chasing, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout.
It's about to go down.
Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this.
Yes. It's Friday night. Around here, we call it playoff eve. You know what I mean? Sports reports is ordered in your ears. Those are the sounds that you're hearing. He is the one and only world famous, world renowned, cool, calm, and collected, Mr. Logical. I am your unorthodox statistician, going left so much that you thought I was Mike Vrabel ducking the paparazzi. I am 2-5. You know what I'm saying? Sports reports is ordered tonight. We got
Rossini out here.
I know. We got to do the NBA playoff previews tonight. You know, right on my screen right here. Charlotte is getting the Beats by Dre right now. You know, then we're going to hand out some awards, you know, 6-man, MVP, so on and so forth. But first, like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things. Liquid Death in hand. Guess what? We are everywhere that you get podcasts. Say less, say more. Holla back. Let's get into it. Mr. Logical.
I'm here.
The playoffs are here. Are you excited?
I'm not going to lie, I am.
Okay.
Because I think the first round in each conference might just be chalk.
Okay.
I think the 4 or 5 matchups are intriguing, especially the one in the West. I think the 2-7 with Philly and Boston is intriguing just because Philly has top-tier starting talent. And Boston tends to historically kind of play with their food a little bit, something you would say.
Okay.
I think that's intriguing. I think the West is, you know, we still got to wait for the play-in with Golden State here. But I like where it's headed. I know the regular season gets a lot of heat, and we're going to talk about the 65 games and everything else. But it's like, I mean, a lot of fans want you to skip to the playoffs anyway. So I think we have a lot of. I think the matchups that we have are the way Adam Silver really needed it. He needed it to play out this way.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely needs Golden State to win tonight. You know what I mean? The old guard against the New Jacks, Steph against SGA. That equals ratings. That equals money. You know, of course, you know me. I'm looking forward to this Denver, Minnesota series. You know, I'm looking forward to Atlanta and New York. You know, I don't know. Like, you know, I even want to see old man LeBron, you know, and this is not one of those moments where the LeBron hater wants to watch LeBron lose or anything like that. I just want to see for real what he's got, you know what I mean, at this stage, because he's been playing so good over the last couple years, even though he's getting older. So I kind of just want to see what it looks like. You know what I mean?
I want to see it if he can play like 2018 LeBron. Like, that's my favorite.
Well, there you go. That ain't happening.
It's very tough, but it wasn't like, I don't think he wasn't playing above the rim that much, because that was 2 years post chase down block. I just think he did what Cleveland did at the trade deadline that year, when they basically traded away everyone. Derrick Rose, D Wade, the popcorn selling guy, the dude that takes tickets. Like, everybody was gone. There was a whole new gang of people in Cleveland. Everybody left. cheerleaders got fired. I mean, it was a whole lot. The mascot got swapped out. Everybody had to go. LeBron stayed, and he still took that team from February to 51-8-8 in game one. No, yeah. So 51-8-8 game one against Golden State with, J.R. Smith getting the rebound, not doing the putback. That was tough, but it's just like he just played at a different level. But I think he's always been that way. I just don't know if I'm Houston, no disrespect to LeBron, but it's like, dog, I got to get you to the point where it's clear that you need a rest, because I'm pretty sure he gets tired, but he can kind of skirt and skate with Luka on the floor, Austin Reeves on the floor. I think he could take 3 or 4 possessions off, get a foul, get a sip of water, get a timeout, like kind of just ease through it. He's not involved in any of the action. But if I'm Ime, him and Ime always argue every game anyway. Like Ime think he's still out there playing. You know what I'm saying? So I think he'll just keep him in action and make the Lakers defense have to shift, because there's only so much energy anybody has. And I think they'll exhaust him if they can. That would be the smart thing.
So I got a couple of thoughts. My first thought is, we talk about this pretty often, so I'm not going to get into it. But the way that we were looking at the Knicks and we were saying trap Embiid, like do all these things, that's the way Houston needs to approach this, I think. Because this is the thing with LeBron, right? We value his playoff runs because generally in most series, he'll give you game one. Just to kind of get the intel, kind of, have somewhere to go with the film and all that. But he can't do that this time. And he can't give away any games.
Have to fight to get game one now, considering that Luka's miracle drug that he's going to get from Germany. Germany's a great country. I spent like 10 years of my life living there. There's not a lot of miracles. There's a lot of pork.
Well, it sounds like
some great food, great beer, but you're not going to get a great miracle hamstring cure.
If I'm the Lakers, from the reports that I've been reading, if I'm the Lakers, I hope Luka can play in game 2, possibly game 3, because they were talking about how, he's been in Spain. He's going to be back with the team midweek. So I haven't looked at the calendar per se to know when game 2 and 3 are. But if I'm looking at that, so, the other thought that I had is, if you have to be the Lakers, you have to be LeBron in a situation like this. Out of the major players in that top 6 seed that didn't play in the play-in, I think Houston's the team that you would want to play. They're the one that we talk about their offense struggling, where you could stay in a zone a little bit and make them prove to you that they can shoot. You don't want to have to guard Jokic right now without your other guys around. You don't want to have to mess with Wemby. You definitely ain't got nothing for OKC. You definitely, so
in that hotel room.
So I think they could have did a lot worse matchup wise than the Rockets. Anthony Edwards coming off the injury, but that the Wolves are going to get up into you defensively. So I actually like this matchup from the standpoint of, and we talked about this
for the Rockets. I think with the Lakers' big 3 healthy, the Rockets have no shot. But this makes it winnable, because I know people hate when you make excuses for LeBron.
Yes, we do.
Let's be realistic. If you start 5 people, that's 100% of your starters. 40% not there. Not only is a 40% not there, the 2 guys who aren't there are, what are we looking at? 57 points. 57 points, maybe about 12 assists and 12 rebounds between Austin Reeves and Luka. So not just points and rebounds, but what they're capable of doing with the ball in their hand that allows each of the other ones to rest. Because Austin Reeves can get the ball with 12 seconds left on the play clock, and he has a bit of a green light. Luka can just stand over there on the elbow. LeBron can stand in the corner, and they can just do work. They can do that every few possessions. That's substantial versus they have to work the ball through Luka. They got to work it through LeBron. Now Luka's not there. Austin's not there. So it's going to be tough. like I said, I don't know if Rui is allowed to put the ball on the floor, take 2 dribbles, and pull up, or is he just like, hey, you got to shoot the 3 no matter what. You're 0 for 1, 0 for 2, 0 for 3, 0 for 4. Your job is to just simply continue to shoot the 3. So I don't know if that's the problem that they're going to have.
Well, so the other problem that the Lakers might have is, are you going to suffer from Jokic syndrome? You know, because the last couple of years we've been talking about when Jokic is on the floor, this is what Denver's points per possession look like. When he goes to the bench, it all comes crumbling down. So LeBron's not, and this is why when you were talking about the 2018 thing, that was where my mind went, is that LeBron ain't giving you 41 minutes a game in this series, and you think that you're going to get out of it. You know what I mean? Like, you got to probably keep him 37, 38-ish, and those 2 to 3 minutes make a difference over the cumulative. It makes a difference, you know. So that's it. So can the Rockets shoot against the zone? This is what the Rockets remind me of, Mr. Logical, and this is where the Lakers could have a chance, because for years, and this is one of your talking points, or it's a real thing, it's a fact, but you bring it up a lot, is that Aaron Rodgers, when he was in Green Bay, you wanted to be trailing Green Bay going into the fourth quarter. You know, that's where we are with the Rockets. You know what I mean? You want the Rockets to have a little bit of a healthy lead going into the fourth quarter, because you know that you can walk it down. And the other part of this is he's had a pretty good season, you know, obviously, relatively speaking, compared to last year. But Reed Shepherd, what do you do with him? Because he's one of the few Rockets that can shoot. But as long as he's on the court, the Lakers can abuse him. In the matchups this year that they played against Houston, Reed Shepherd, and I know, you know, you're not a big plus-minus guy, but the Rockets are...
I am within reason.
But the Rockets are minus 29 against the Lakers with Reed Shepherd on the court this year.
Was Austin Reeves and Luka on the floor?
They were. They obviously were for a lot of that.
I think
it does make a difference, but the problem is
the Lakers could lose game 1 at home. Huge. Because we talked about, can Houston shoot out of the zone, or Houston shoot over the zone? Can anybody on the Lakers generate their own bucket in this pressure defense that Ime likes to run? If Bronny gets in the game, is Bronny going to take, if Thompson is picking him up 92 feet, is he going to be able to get in the action? We know JJ Redick is very specific on how he wants to play run. I don't think he likes a lot of freelance unless it's Luka or unless it's LeBron. So are you going to be able to generate, say Houston just takes we'll keep it simple. First time out, you know, 5 minutes into the game, the score is 12-7 Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Are the Lakers going to be able to come out, get a 3, get a stop, tie the game back up, or is it going to start to snowball early? Like,
well, see, that's
guys
where
be able to score the baskets, and that's a big thing for me.
Well, see, and that's where I go back to the trade deadline, because the Lakers made a very underrated move during the trade deadline for a moment like this. They went out and got Luke Kennard, you know, and I know he's got the injured hand right now. He's listed day to day, but if he can go, you know, that's somebody that could potentially stretch the floor a little bit. You know, you figure
he came at the trade deadline and he led the Lakers in bench 3-pointers. That lets you know, like,
yes, he's a big part of this.
That's a huge problem that the Lakers
and you need Rui, obviously. You need Rui to step up. You need Ayton to be able to lock down the paint defensively and give Şengün problems, because we've seen, you know, going back to last year's playoffs, Şengün doesn't necessarily deal with, and I guess this might be outside of Jokic, it's probably one of those like Euro things, is that they don't like physicality in that way. So if Ayton can bump him a little bit from time to time,
but
that might,
like, I think he's a little thicker paws than
he
Ayton.
is, but they still don't like it.
I think Jokic, we talked about when Jokic came back from the bubble slim, and it was like, nah, this is not working. I think Şengün, like I said, you know, we think the ref's going to swallow the whistle. First of all, it's the Lakers. We know that's the crypto arena. LeBron, the Lakers, the Raptors, the banners. Magic is going to be there. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure the legends are going to come out for this and be on the court game one, especially because it's KD versus LeBron. You know, you're going to get this again. So I imagine the star-studded audience and the specter of the Lakers is going to impact the game. But if JJ can't keep Ayton motivated to like, listen, crash the boards and we'll get you the lobs on the other end. Jackson Hayes, crash the boards, we'll get you lobs on the other end. Because LeBron's going to look for you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're getting yanked in and out of the game because you're out of position defensively, you're not rebounding, then I think it just kind of, muddles up the feng shui of the offense. In Cleveland, but Houston, they have young guys that play pressure defense and they have KD who you can't guard.
And that's why I think that Amen Thompson and Tari Eason are going to be important in this series. Defensively, like you mentioned, Tari has been having a good year from the 3-point line, but not necessarily inside the 3-point line.
If you want to get one of them in defensive trouble, like in foul trouble, who you go after first? Who do you try to get 2 quick fouls on? Thompson or Eason?
I think you don't want to try to get Amen because I think it's going to be hard to get Amen in foul trouble because he's just so good. Like he's like future defensive player of the year good. So I don't think
he doesn't get 2 cheap fouls early.
Yeah, I don't think so. But the other part of that too is that he's not gonna attack you from the 3-point line. So you got to keep everybody else at bay, so you close down those lanes for him to get through to get to the basket. So
you want Tari Eason in foul trouble.
Yeah, but I don't think
him on the bench.
But I don't know if I trust the Lakers enough defensively to be able to keep him out of the lane. You got Marcus Smart, so that goes a long way into what we're talking about. But
I think he can get a block charge, reverse. I think he can. Yeah. He can pester somebody into a bad foul, or like on the inbound.
And then the other part of
this Lance Stevenson style, and you get like a cheap push. I think he can coax you into something like that.
But I think that this is the kind of series where not having Van Vliet hurts you too, because he would be another shooter that you would be able to have, one of the few shooters that Houston would have, and the leadership role. So we talked about this. For the Rockets to go far within these playoffs, Kevin Durant probably has to average 29. It has to be efficient, 56% or somewhere around there. So if Kevin Durant is having one of these games where he's like, let's say 7 for 21, 7 for 19, then you're giving the Lakers that hope you're keeping them around. And the Lakers in the regular season, second in free throw attempts.
19 though.
That's the problem.
That's what I mean?
Like you just have to hope that he's missing. That's the problem.
Yeah, we always talked about like OKC, Kevin Durant, when the Golden State Warriors started shooting the 3 a lot. Around the same time, a lot of bigs started shooting the 3 a lot. Kevin Durant was one of those guys we would say he should shoot the 3 more. He shoots it so well because he shoots the basketball so well and it can't be defended. But Kevin Durant is like, yo, I like basketball and I like getting to my spots. I'm 7 feet tall. Your best defender you could put on me realistically, the biggest you can go is 6'7" as far as like athletically. Like you could put Jaylen Brown on him in the Boston-Houston matchup, but Jaylen Brown's like 6'6", 6'7". Tatum, 6'8", a little bulkier, still 3 inches, 3-4 inches shorter than him, can shoot over him. So if Kevin Durant's like, listen, if I can get to free throw line extended and get this pull up, I can knock this down. I'm shooting 90% from the free throw line. So if I can get to this jumper, I'm shooting 52, 53% from here. I'll do that. Kevin Durant's one of those guys that can go 12 for 18 and have 36 points. You're like, how? Because he just can. And I think if you can't defend him at his spots, which I don't know if the Lakers can, because they definitely don't have anyone that can make him work defensively, because you're never going to put him on LeBron. Like, Ime's never going to have it to where Kevin Durant switches on to LeBron. Unless it just happens late in the shot clock and you can't switch and he has to deal with it. But it's like, Other than that, he's going to have another young, athletic body on LeBron. So, like Vanderbilt, Rui, like who's going to make Kevin Durant work defensively? I think he comes back down and now he's shooting that 15 to 18-foot jumper.
Well, all I know
Foul on the
is
elbow, getting 2 free throws. Like I think he's the X factor in this entire series.
all I know is if history tells us anything, you keep LeBron away from Durant in Game 3. You know what I mean? So, but the Lakers, like I said, they're coming down the stretch.
Foul him dribbling the ball up. Hit it,
coming
push it to the crowd. Like whatever.
Coming down the stretch of these games, you know, the Lakers are second in the NBA in free throw attempts. So that might be something to watch in a close game. So, all right. So with all that being said, Mr. Logical, give me the pick.
Guy Houston. I just gotta be realistic.
You giving the Lakers any game?
I mean, 6 is a cop out. No Luka. 5.
Yeah, I was thinking 5, but here's the twist. If we get Luka,
then
give me Lakers in 7.
You're going to get Luka.
Yeah, but if we do, give me Lakers in 7.
Because you're right, to get Luka in Game 3.
Yeah,
they could be down 0-2 by then.
They could. So you got Minnesota and Denver. I brought that up. You know, it's been a rivalry. You know, going all the way back to 2024. You know, when I always talk about Cat and his salute. That Game 7, where Minnesota, dominated in Denver. But if I'm Denver, Mr. Logical, I think OKC gave you everything. They gave you all the data that you need to stop Anthony Edwards. You know, you load one side of the court and you force him to make quick decisions with the ball and because last year when they played Minnesota in the Western Conference Finals, I think the game plan, and obviously they didn't say it like I'm about to say it, but the game plan was SGA, he can't out SGA you. You know what I mean? So they made him play that role. Yeah, they played him. They let him play that role where he was kind of point forward and all that type of stuff where it just wasn't natural. Not that he can't do it because he's obviously super talented. It just wasn't natural. So I think that if you're Denver, that might be the blueprint that you kind of look at. But here's the other part. Everybody talks about Rudy Gobert, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Defensive Player of the Year, Mr. Shut Down the Paint, Mr. Logical against the Timberwolves this year. Jokic is averaging 35, 15, and 11.
Rudy Gobert in the playoffs, and like I said, I'll beat this dead horse, revive it, and beat it again. Once a team figures out whatever it is you do well, coupled with what you don't do well at all, and it gets exposed, it's a wrap. And what I've seen throughout the history of the NBA playoffs, whether he was with the Jazz or with Minnesota, these games are always going to be close. It's going to be clutch moments. And if Rudy Gobert is the guy that has to defend away from the rim on a capable jump shooter, it's a bad look for whatever team he's on. Luka, a couple years ago, when he hit that shot and he said he was saying something in Slovenian to the crowd. Why would you say something in Slovenian to the crowd? That probably couldn't point out Slovenia on the map. We all know what you said. You can't fucking guard me, bitch. That's what you said. I don't care what you try to make it seem like. We know exactly what you said to Rudy Gobert when Minnesota allowed the switch that we've seen happen time and time again with Utah and Minnesota, to where Rudy Gobert is out on an island, 7 feet, 10 inches tall, and can't defend a jump shot because he's just completely he's Bambi on ice out there. That's what happens. And once teams figured out that they could do that, like you said, and Edwards, SGA, you try to do what SGA does, and we'll let that go. You know, if you get the 44 points, you get the 44 points, but you're going to put up 27 shots to do it. Rudy Gobert, yeah, you're great inside. What are you going to do when we pull you out here now? Jokic is shooting 18-footers like this.
So I think what we might see, though, someone else on Jokic, because you go back to the OKC series last year, and Alex Caruso spent a lot of time guarding Jokic. So I think if you're Minnesota, you do some kind of funky cross matchup. Maybe you have Gobert like on Christian Brown or something like that. I'm interested to see if Peyton Watson will be back. I know he's been hampered the last couple of weeks or so he's going to be big. Maybe not necessarily in this series, but definitely going forward. But I was talking about the Lakers a few minutes ago and how they're second in free throw attempts. Well, Minnesota, you want at the free throw line late because they're 29th in free throw percentage. So outside of Anthony Edwards, it's tough slant. Naz Reid has been slumping lately. So you're hoping that you have that we're 0-0. This is a new season type attitude. But Minnesota does have something that they didn't have last year. They drafted Rob Dillingham. He's gone now, obviously, but they drafted him. And the thought was get us points in bunches at times, relieve, don't make us have to play Mike Conley so much. Now, they got Ayu Dosunmu, who's been doing a lot of that. So I think that helps. The problem is that Denver, their problem last year was depth. They went out and got Bruce Brown back. They went out and got Tim Hardaway Jr. back. So those are guys that can hit shots, which is something that they didn't have coming off the bench last year. And they still took OKC to 7. That was one of the big reasons why I was so big on Denver this year and picked them to win the title. We'll get back to that later. The coaching matchup is interesting because I like Chris Finch as a head coach, and this is obviously Adelman's first full season as a head coach. So from an experience standpoint, especially the Wolves being in the Western Conference Finals the last 2 years, they're ready for this series, and they've beaten Denver before. They're ready for this series. So I think that this series is going to go a lot longer. I've seen people saying, like ESPN and all that, saying Denver in 5.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't see that because I believe Minnesota's a little bit more. Minnesota has their firepower. It's a matter of, can you knock down the free throws? Can you keep Gobert on the floor in crucial moments?
Mm-hmm.
And can you get Jokic to go 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists? If you can get that, because we talked about that a few years ago in the Miami series. The one game I believe Miami won, Jokic had like 44 points and 3 assists. Like, can you get him to where shot clock's running down? He can hit that Bill Cartwright jumper at the end of the clock. Can you get it to where your guys stay glued to their guys and he's like, listen, I got to shoot this one-footed turnaround jumper, knock it down, and he goes, like I say, he goes 38, 6, and 6.
See, last year I think you could have.
I think you get a shot. I think 38, 6, and 6, because that means excuse me. So he's at what? 11 assists and 13 rebounds. So imagine what is probably like 3.5, 4 of those are offensive rebounds, maybe even defensive rebounds that lead to immediate down, like, full court passes, like just easy, cheap rebound assist ratios, which normally isn't like the same kind of stat because a guy who gets a lot of rebounds doesn't normally handle the ball and gets a lot of assists out of it. But if you could get it to where he's not even able to get to 7 or 8 or 9 assists, that means other guys aren't getting their normal 2 or 3 shots at the rim, and guys are just kind of out there doing cardio. We know guys play hard defense. They want to get a good shot off, but guys aren't getting that opportunity. I think you got a shot.
And for those of you counting, yes, the Hornets are down by 32 points. So I think Minnesota would have been able to pull that off last year, because like I said, they didn't have the shooters Denver doesn't have the shooters that they have this year. You know what I mean? Denver leads the league in 3-point percentage this year, even though they don't take even though they don't take a lot of them, but they hit them. And but Minnesota, we know that during the playoffs, normally their defense ratchets up a little bit.
No
So this is where Jaden McDaniels comes in. Can he slow down Jamal Murray? Because Jamal Murray right now having the best career or best season of his career. So, can you stop Jamal Murray? Because Denver, that's the key. When Jamal Murray, because he's a real streaky guy. But when you're on the upswing of that peak, Denver is tough to deal with. It's tough to deal with.
Jamal Murray goes into the fourth quarter and he's 2 for 12, and he knocks down those first 2 jumpers and he's 4 for 14. He's about to go off for about 17 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
It happens at least once per playoffs. He'll be playing terrible. You'll foul him on a jump shot, or you'll foul him at the rim. He'll get to the free throw line. He'll see 2. He'll get 2 to 4 free throws that all go in, and then the rim just gets bigger and bigger. And that's the difference of having that level of firepower. If you have it, you can make it work. If you don't, then that's your problem. But I still contend with the fact that let Jokic shoot, let Jokic cook a la, Russell Wilson when he was in Denver, and just see if it works out for you. But you can't let him get the back pass off. You can't let him get that tip pass over his head. You can't let him get Aaron Gordon lobs where Aaron Gordon's getting 8 to 10 points off of easy layups and dunks at the rim. You're going to have to sacrifice something where it's like you said, maybe put an undersized guy on him to where him shooting the ball is a better option than passing it.
I'm taking the cop out. Give me Denver in 6. I think Denver needs.
I was just saying, that's the only way they could do it. In my opinion, the only way is to keep him, to cut his assists in half and keep his rebounds low. Keep him all.
But Denver
keep his all is low,
But Denver needs to get this over quick. You know what I mean? Because they're going to have San Antonio more than likely waiting for them. You know what I mean? And they're going to have to, if they're going to do what I think they can do, they're going to have to go through San Antonio and OKC back to back. You know what I mean? But then on top of that, the reason I bring that up is because remember in the first round, they went 7 with the Clippers last year, and then they turned around and went into that series with Oklahoma City. But let's swing over to the East for a quick second. The series that I'm most intrigued about, Hawks and Knicks. This is one of those things, right? Old cliche. All the pressure is on the Knicks. If the Knicks do anything less than the finals, I think they might just break it all apart.
Conference finals?
No, finals. Because remember now, coming into this year, the thought was, hey, Tatum's out. This is our year to get through the East. No, Halliburton's hurt. This is our year, right? But then Tatum came back. And then we had this mini conversation the other night, right? I don't care. I beat Tatum last year. So
it's different because we talk about that. I hate to cut you off. Tatum being out allowed, because you mentioned this before, and when we talk about college basketball, a guy being out for so long, allowing guys who don't normally play these roles to get confidence. And the main thing is all these guys can shoot. All these guys can score the basketball. All these guys have been the best player on their teams for pretty much the entirety of their life. Now then NBA they have to fill a role. Tatum being gone, you put all these other guys in that Tatum role, and now Shireman shooting end of the shot clock threes from 32 feet like it's nothing. That doesn't happen if Tatum.
Our guy Sam Hauser
shooting the no bring down 3, just catching it and just jumping with it. So that's the difference. I think the Knicks, like you said, the finals, the Knicks are just in a bad spot because the teams around them are just better, and they are just so gritty that they overperform.
Well, you also got to remember, too, last year, going back to the Indiana thing, there was the blown game, where Halliburton hit the shot that bounced up and came back down, go to overtime. You know
Was
what I
that
mean?
the same game that Neesmith scored like 23 points, or is that
I
did
believe
that?
it was. I believe it was. And
So
you
that was
know,
like a miracle thing that happened. That's
right,
the thing that
right. But if
sucks.
you
Like they grind so hard all year long, and then to have
right,
that thing happen, and then Halliburton hit the bouncing three in front of Reggie Miller. It's like,
but if you're the
that was cool.
Knicks, you're like, we were on the brink. You reverse that one result, we're up 3-2. You know what I mean? With a chance to go to the finals now. So this is so like generally, you know, you're building up, right? So they went to the semifinals the one year. Then last year they came back, made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. So you came into this season. Now, obviously, like I said, you didn't expect Tatum to come back. But I ain't got to deal with Tatum right now. I just got to get to Tatum in the next round. You know what I mean? So if they lose,
It
so
shouldn't be. The what they are able to do defensively with their scrappy guys, their Villanova cats that they have, and Brunson and Cat being able to score the ball in the Mike Brown offense, they should handle the Hawks. Because I don't think
they
anyone from the Hawks,
should.
I don't think anyone from the Hawks is gonna. You need to upset a team. Like I said, you got to beat them 4 times in 11 days. You need a guy that's established and is consistently ready to slay dragons all the time. Like you need an Anthony Edwards. You need even a Ja Morant. You need Tatum, a Brown. You need Jalen Brunson. You need a guy like that. You need granted, Giannis is a superstar, but you'll need we'll say Cooper Flag going forward. You'll need a guy that's the guy that can take an under a team that's where everything else is even, but in the words of quote Gino Auriemma, I got Diana, they don't. I don't think the Hawks have that guy that can that can compensate for the fact that.
Well, see, you're starting to persuade me a little bit because I got Hawks in 7. You know what I mean? And I think that so like when I look at this, you know, there's a couple of things that come to my mind. You know what I mean? Now the Knicks do have a significant height advantage in this series. You know, and with Okongwu, if he gets it, like you were talking about foul trouble earlier, if he gets in foul trouble, then Atlanta's in a world of hurt because it doesn't look like Jock Landale. I don't think he's going to make it game 1, but he might be there the rest of the series. But the thing that I think Atlanta has going for them is that they can harass Jalen Brunson. So, like, he might get his 30, but it's going to be more like 9 for 24 or something along those lines.
But he
you know what I mean?
And has the green light, and game 3 he'll go
definitely
42.
But the other part of that is, remember last year, you remember that first round series against the Pistons, and Tobias Harris was giving Cat all the frustration. You know what I mean? So you don't need a traditional big per se to guard Cat, and you probably don't want that because Cat's going to run around him or
he's going to
bring him out. Right. Yeah. So if I could put a quicker guy on Cat, lower center of gravity in his dribble path and handoff path, I can cause a little disruption. Then I got Dyson Daniels, you know, to go along with Nickeil Walker-Alexander on defense, and I got what Atlanta lacks in height, they have in long ass arms. That's going to be in the passing lanes. Like, and if I'm the Knicks,
equation, you need a guy get his own bucket. You need a defensive guy. You need a crazy guy.
They got all that.
They got the defensive guy.
They got the guy that can get the bucket. They got Jalen Johnson. People just don't know about him yet because he plays for the Hawks.
But we talk about playoff buckets. Like, can he go off for 37 points efficiently against them?
I think he could because the problem. So the other problem is the reason why I think he can. The reason why I think he can is because sometimes in these playoff games, more so the playoffs than the regular season, you don't always get Mikal Bridges and Anunoby both playing well at the same time.
That well in the Garden.
That doesn't always happen. Well, maybe, but we saw what happened in the Garden already. Like some of the biggest playoff moments in NBA history are opposing teams going into the Garden.
So yeah, you have to be Smith. Like I think if Indiana was their next round opponent potentially, then
Uh-huh.
I think the hangover from how they lost to Indiana could adversely impact them. But the
Okay.
fact that Indiana isn't there, and the Knicks, like, it's not even to be like just kind of sitting to the Hawks. It's like, yo, like I said, we have Diana and they don't. Like, we have the guys. We have two guys that can go off for 30, and you simply don't have that. You don't have that option. And all
Hey,
of our role players are scrappy guys who fill that role. Like I said, between Bridges, Josh Hart, Adenobi, um, Mitch Roberts, like those kind of players, those guys know their role. Josh Hart's not dribbling to an like dribbling the ball up with on the shot clock, gets it across half court, and 17 seconds left, pulling up a three. He just not, he's not gonna mess up what they do well. He's gonna
yeah, I
do
think
what he does
Hart's going to
well.
be key here. I think that Mitchell Robinson could be the real X factor with
The
because I
dude
talked
doesn't
about the
miss an
size,
opportunity to get offensive rebound in the playoffs.
and
He just
but
doesn't. Like, if it gets
I,
tipped, if you don't grab it with both hands in front of Mitchell Robinson on the on the defensive board, if you're trying to clear the defensive board, if it gets tipped, he'll get to it.
are
He
you
will
ready
get
for
to it. It
my?
happens every time.
Are
Ask
you
Boston.
are you ready for my 2-5 question that only 2-5 would ask and ask it in the way that 2-5 would ask it?
Yeah, go ahead. Let me take a bite of my pasta first while you say it.
Is Corey Kispert going to be Kyle Korver or Jason Capono?
What the hell?
That might make the difference in this series. Is he going to hit shots, or is he going to be the guy that throughout the season looked the part, and then when you get to the playoffs or late in the season, or you need to rely on him a little bit, does he turn into the pumpkin? So those are the questions, that I think come down to this series. But I'm taking Hawks in 7. I'm prepared to eat that if I have to, but I'm rolling with it.
I got Knicks in 5.
Okay. Boston and Philly. You know what I mean? Like, so hey,
Shout out to Ben Simmons.
now here's the thing, right? 2-2 season series. They split the season series, but Paul George didn't play against them. Jason Tatum didn't play against them. So we're still unlocking new things here. You know what I mean? The playoffs are the time to unlock things. Maxey, 5th in the league in scoring. So if you could get Embiid back at some point, I could see Philly taking 2 games off of this series. Like one off of Embiid just being dominant and a Maxey game. You know what I mean? Or it don't even have to be a Maxey game. It'll be that game
He went off last year, right?
He did, or the year before, yeah.
Because they played the Knicks in the first round last year, right?
Yeah, no, that was
And
the year
that's
before. It was the year before, I think. Because
When
Philly,
everybody was in the building, when like Patrick Ewing, all those guys were in.
Yeah, and he had the
Giving
Reggie
their
Miller
game
moment
time.
with like the
4-point play.
Mhm.
Yeah. He has that in him.
But Boston, to your point, also plays with their food.
Jersey. Yeah.
Well, and yeah, I never pick Boston in a sweep because they're going to give up one.
They're going to go 4 for 27 for 3 in the first half in one of these.
So the key to this series for me, the key for me in this series is Derek White and his defense against Maxey. On top of that, Neemias, I think that's how you say it, Neemias Queta. He's one of those guys that benefited from Tatum being out, from them trading Cornette. And it might not hurt Boston in this series, but no Drew Holiday, no Al Horford, no Luke Cornette. The leadership tenet of their championship pedigree.
I know Drew Holiday is just. I saw something today say he's one of the most underrated players in the NBA.
He is.
I think Horford's absence is going to hurt them more, as you can see in the Clippers Golden State series, where he knocked down 3 threes, and it was like he shot him with the confidence that I want, like, respect to the Lakers. The way he shoots the ball is indicative of the confidence that he has in his shot, and I don't think any, like, a lot of these other teams that have these role players that don't get these opportunities don't. That comes from his time and all the years he's played. But in Boston, the role players have green lights probably from their spots. I remember watching like this college coach, And he had guys like, listen, if you want to shoot the ball, if you want the green light, you got to pass this drill. You got to knock down 3 threes from this corner. You got to get your own rebound. You got to get to this corner, knock down 3 threes, and do it. And if you can hit if you can go 65% or 70% or something like that in this drill, I'll give you the ultimate green light. So having the ultimate green light in the NBA is tough. I think the bench players and the role players for Boston have green lights, and I think they get to those green light spots throughout the offensive possessions. So that's why Hauser, I always mess up calling him Cole Hauser from, I think he was, what's that show? All people love it when you work there on the farm. I don't know. The one on Paramount. So he gets his shot off. Shotterman gets his shot off. Harper gets his shot off. These are all guys. We haven't talked about Jaylen Brown. We haven't talked about Tatum. We haven't talked about Pritchard. I just think knowing the role players' names and knowing how they impact the game offensively, it takes wins out of yourselves offensively. And Philly, I love Philly. I just don't know. In the play-in, I think Paul George had a couple of shots when I was watching the game because we were live and I was watching it on the TV. And he got the ball a couple of times. I was like, is he going to knock down this jumper or is he going to hit the side of the backboard? And I think 3 shots in a row were just, you knew they weren't going in.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with Paul George. It's like Carmelo gets open in the phone booth. I think that shot's going in. With Paul George, I don't believe that 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, 121, 119, his 2-point jumper is going in.
Well, when we talk about, in this conversation more so happens in football, when we talk about the anatomy of an upset, you got to force turnovers. You got to get easy buckets, transition. Boston is number 1 in the league in fewest turnovers. So it's just one of those things.
Like their role players don't put the ball on the floor.
Philly's yeah, that's what I'm saying. Philly's up against it. So give me Celtics in 5.
Yeah, I'll give them 1 off the energy. So because Boston, like I said, Boston will go 4 for 27 in the first half from threes in one of these games. Probably the first game back in Philly.
Well, they lost. Boston lost me when they lost that game to Miami, a couple of years ago when Jimmy Butler was out. Yeah, that's the type of stuff that makes me not pick Boston.
But they did the same thing. They did the same thing every year. So they went to the finals in 2022. They had one of those kind of games. They won it in 2023, if I'm correct.
They won it in 24. Denver won it in 23.
So Denver won in 23. That's when they had the Miami. That's when they had the bad game against Miami. But they clawed back. They were down 3-0. So they played with their food for 3 games. Tatum sprained his ankle. Game 7 is ineffective. But they should have cleared out the play-in champion Miami Heat. But they didn't.
Well, somebody should have. It ain't have to be them.
By the time they got to them, they should be like, "Oh, we got this." But then they went down 3-0, and they needed a miracle to not lose that series with Derek White. 24, they won it, but same thing. Yeah, every game 1, they do the 3 for 30, 4 for 28 from 3, and then they rattle off.
Well, I'm interested, right?
I'll give them 5 just because I expect Boston to have one of those games where they're like, 4 for 30.
Well, I'm interested, right? Because we were talking about the Knicks in Boston the other day. Who would you rather be? And that was the thing, right? Boston, in those first 2 games last year in Boston, jumped out to those 20-point leads that the Knicks erased and came back from. So I'm interested to see if they get up big in game 1. I want to see how that unfolds. So Detroit
over Philly getting up big in game 1.
Yeah, it's see how that lead holds on or evaporates. So I'm gonna go on a limb here and say it's going to be Detroit Orlando. Orlando's up 28 right now with about 5 minutes left in the third quarter.
You never know.
I mean, you never know. So we'll come back to this if we need to. But so the Pistons, Kate Cunningham's back, and it's another one of those moments where the Pistons were able to figure out what they had, because without Cade Cunningham, Dennis Jenkins came in and averaged 20 points a game, basically, when nobody even heard of him before. I think that if you're Detroit, you would have rather, I don't think you care because you're going to win the series either way, but I think you would have rathered Charlotte because they're more finesse. You can
You'd rather play
them up.
Charlotte than Orlando?
Yeah, if I was Detroit.
You're Orlando. Orlando can't shoot.
I know, but Orlando is every bit of.
They couldn't hit an iceberg in the Titanic. I watched that. Like they can't shoot. They still can't shoot. That was an assessment that you and I had going into the season.
But Orlando is even.
Bain, they still can't shoot.
But I think Charlotte is so reliant on three, and I think that Detroit is like they would be focused against Charlotte because of the rivalry, the fight earlier this year. You would get Detroit's full attention. You know what I mean?
All right, you're laying under a guillotine. You got Orlando Magic 5 players. You got Charlotte Hornets 5 players shooting 3-pointers.
Well, yeah, you're going to take Charlotte.
You taking Charlotte because those guys are like so.
Yeah, but Orlando will bang with Detroit in a way that Charlotte can't. Charlotte doesn't have the size or bodies to do so. So I think that and I'm just going off of the way Detroit plays. You know what I mean? I think that Orlando gives you a little bit more because I think Detroit would sweep the Hornets if they played them. They're
going to sweep Orlando. If Detroit's physicality gets them up 11 points, if they just happen to get up 11 points mid part of the game, 61-50,
I'm giving Orlando 1.
Going to be able to shoot you back in.
I'm giving Orlando 1. I just and possibly 2. It just depends because, like I said, I think that they can get physical with Detroit, and I just don't know.
They haven't had a playoff game in Orlando in a while, right? Well, they had one.
But they've been making them. They went to 7 with Cleveland 2 years ago, and then I think
off by Boston.
Yeah,
they took one off of Boston. Yeah, so I'll give them.
Yeah. So but then you got down here in the Alamo. Welcome to the big time, kid. Wemby is here. The Spurs are here. Steph Castle. Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox. But in comes the Young Bucks. The exciting team. I think this team is exciting. And, it's one of those things where people like Mr. Logical, they got to go to bed early because, they're on Eastern time, so they can't watch these teams. But I'm telling you, man, Portland is going to give San Antonio a nice little run now. The Spurs are going to win this series. I'm not making that argument at all. But I think people are going to be surprised. Shaedon Sharpe back from injury, looking good. Scoot turned it around. He didn't play until February. So you look at the record, you see them in the play-in game, and you go, they can't compete. But they were without 2 of their best players most of the year, too. Obviously, this is a homecoming of sorts because Tiago Splitter will be on the sidelines for the Blazers.
He looks like a coach.
He does. He does.
He just has that coach look. That.
Well, game 1, I tell you though, everything
Brazilian, I believe.
Erase everything I just said though. In game 1, the Spurs are going to bury Portland. Popovich came out today. Showed up at they going to come out and put something on Portland in game 1. Now, what I would like to see is Donovan Clingan. I want to see him up against Wemby. You know what I mean? Like from that defensive standpoint.
Matchup. It's a tough matchup.
I know it is. That's why I want to see it.
What he can do 20 to 25 feet away from the hoop is akin to what Kevin Durant can do with the ball. And then in the paint is just Yao Ming was 7'6", right?
Right.
Was he like let's say 7'7"?
I think he was 7'6", but or either way, yeah.
But his length around the rim was still basically from the floor to the end of his arm. Like he wasn't elevating even higher to create finger rolls or floaters or just kind of just long like those dunks from like the damn near from the free throw line. He wasn't creating those kind of problems in the paint. So it still was tough to defend because he was a great shooter and he was able to score the ball. What Wemby is doing away from the rim, and then what he can do when he's attacking the rim, because the way he doesn't attack the rim like a 7'5" guy. He attacks the rim like a 6'8" guy. And then he comes back down defensively, and then they can give him breaks. And I think they're working that cycle well. San Antonio started the whole load management process anyway, so I think they understand it better than most. The guy from Portland, the guy from Israel, I don't want to mess his name up.
Denny Avia.
He was getting
that the Wizards should have never let go.
Listen, you mess up their number one pick opportunities when you start winning games. The way he was getting to the bucket on Phoenix with that just confidence, he's not doing that against San Antonio.
First time All-Star.
He'll come down the lane and maybe he gets one or two opportunities against Wemby. Maybe he gets a foul call, but for the most part, even if Wemby doesn't get 2 or 3 of those blocks, the rotation alone, that slow Euro step, and it's almost gonna be completely countered by the ability of Wemby's ability to attack the block because he loves doing it, and just size in general. So their best offensive threat as far as a guy who can get his own bucket has to go into Wemby's territory to get his bucket, and I think that's going to be the problem that lands for them.
I think having
another shooter.
I think having Drew Holiday helps Portland in that way.
Keeps them organized, but I don't think
it's sort of the same way that sort of the same way that, to your point, to what we were talking about earlier. I didn't bring him up when we were talking about it, but it's the same way that CJ McCollum kind of keeps Atlanta steady.
Yeah,
and you know what I mean?
But keeps Minnesota steady.
Right. And I think that, Portland can hit enough shots to spread that out a little bit. The key here is, can you keep San Antonio out of transition? Because the reason that I'm not picking San Antonio to win the title, like some people are, is that I don't think their guards shoot good enough. You know what I mean? To just put that type of pressure on you. It's all Wemby.
But you talk about transition points. De'Aaron Fox, we talked about it, I believe, when Kentucky played UCLA in the Final Four. They were like, De'Aaron Fox might be the fastest guard in college basketball. And then they were comparing him to John Wall. And I think even someone asked John Wall, who's quicker, you or De'Aaron Fox? So if he's running the fast-paced offense, and then you bring in Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle, and they're running the two big guards, you might not need to shoot that well if you can get to the paint. If I can keep Scoop on my hip, and Drew Holiday is gonna give you hell. But do you want to use Drew Holiday guarding Dylan Harper, or do you want to send Drew Holiday to the bench when De'Aaron Fox gets a break? How do you want to balance that out? Because the last thing you want to do is put Drew Holiday on the bench and bring De'Aaron Fox back in, and he can just do his quick move. That Drew Holiday's been cutting off guards. I haven't seen another guard cut a guy off in the middle of his crossover and slide in front of him, get a steal as much in the NBA as Drew Holiday does it.
That's what
without getting foul calls.
See,
that's Drew knows where you're going. So I don't know how do you balance that out?
So Drew Holiday by himself is a pain in the ass to deal with. You know what I mean? But you add Tumani Kamara to that. You still got Matisse Thybulle that's going to come in the game, play defense, and not necessarily require shots. So I'm giving Portland 2 here. I'm factoring in the Moda Center is going to explode game 3. And I'm factoring in that the Spurs, this is their first go round.
And they'll win game 4. And then
nah. This is the Spurs' first go round, playoff intensity and all that. I think Portland's going to get 2 here.
Spurs have the unicorn. They
do.
Spurs have
the unicorn that hasn't played in the playoffs.
But
and to your point, but to your point, he's not the dude that's gonna. If this was, say, and this is my problem with Detroit too, because Detroit is built well if this was the 2000s, like if this was those teams that Kobe was playing against in the playoffs.
Playoffs are
You know what I'm saying?
2011 ish.
You know what I mean? Whereas Wemby doesn't play offense to the point where I don't know how to word this, but he's not using his size in that way. You know what I mean? He'll bail you out by taking a couple of jump shots or pulling up from three and those type of things. So like if the shots aren't falling,
if the shots don't fall, he still will come back and defend the rim. Like his offense doesn't fuel.
Right. No, that's 100%. But you still need his offense.
12 possessions in a row without touching the ball. You think he's fighting for that defensive rebound on possession 13?
So, I want to see how many minutes.
That block. He's still trying to defend. He's still in the passing lane. He's still waiting on the live pass that inevitably you're going to have to try to throw over him. He's still active because what he does is an anomaly compared to what anybody else in the league does. I think that's the difference.
I think Champagne's going to have to hit shots. You know, Harrison Barnes is going to have to give quality minutes. I don't think that this is
experience. I think that Harrison Barnes, I think he's your not on court, but I think the level of information he has from the success level that he has seen in the NBA, he is your Drew Holiday on the squad. I think De'Aaron Fox being the veteran point guard, allowing Dylan Harper to play against whoever your second unit guy is. I think San Antonio's advantages are greater. And I know it's an NBA and it should be a closer gap, but I think this might be, of all the series, this probably is the biggest gap. This is probably on par with, Boston, Philly's even close, Detroit, Orlando.
I think it's I think the biggest gap is if Phoenix wins this next game, and then OKC sweeping them. And I think even if the Warriors do win, I'm giving the Warriors 1. That's my preview.
But Steph Curry is 2 people. Like you basically say whatever he does is like having. Yep.
And I got 6 people to throw at him.
You're gonna have to, and they're gonna like.
We're gonna wear his little ass down. That's what we're gonna do if we're OKC. We're gonna wear his little ass down, and you know what I'm saying? Like he's still, I don't think fully back from that injury yet, but he's got that heart of a champion.
He was like, my knee is nothing structurally wrong with it. It's just I gotta play with it.
Yeah, and you know, so but that's my preview. Oklahoma City in 4 or 5, depending on who the opponent is. And then finally, we got the 4-5 in the East, Cleveland and Toronto. This series is intriguing to me because Toronto won the season series 3-0. The problem is all those games were around Thanksgiving. So, you know, it wasn't the same Cleveland that we have now, you know, the same structure. You know, I think Donovan Mitchell is going to average 30 in this series. I think Scotty Barnes is one of the most underrated players.
In the playoffs.
He does, and I don't know how he does it because he's so inefficient, and he just, you know, I mean, he gets to the bucket though. I think that
he's
plays a big part of it.
I think some part of his life is a New York guy. So like,
New
York guys don't believe they're down. They don't believe that you, for whatever reason, are better than them.
And that's what's wrong with the Giants now.
It's part of it. Like straight up, it's a real thing. Like New York, think about hip hop. Remember when the South started taking over hip hop? New York dudes didn't change up at all. They're like, nah, we just gonna keep doing our same shit. They're like, yo, the South is coming. Nah, they're not better than us. But like, I think he has that. That's why he plays the way he plays in the playoffs. I think Toronto has that kind of moxie as well. I think a lot of those Canadian guys from that area.
Well, yeah, they got the Maple Mamba.
Remember Eric Canada, Andrew Wiggins.
And they got Brandon Ingram. You know he ain't met a shot that he ain't afraid to take.
Listen, if I'm Brandon Ingram, I'm taking all the shots too. What else is he gonna do? Like, I mean, Brandon Ingram is built to play basketball. Like, he can't go work at T-Mobile. Like, I'm out here, I'm just gonna be dribbling and passing. No, I'm out here. I'm 6'10", 110 pounds. This is what I'm doing. Like, you just got to deal with it.
So my question here is, how effective can Jakob Poeltl be? can Toronto get anything? And I know this is the playoffs. I know that the rotation shorten up, but what can Toronto get from their bench? Can Jamal Shed or Jacoby Walter? Because I'm out the.
Deep, are they going 10?
They might have to go 9
because a lot of teams cut it to about 8.
Yeah, because Grady Dick, I'm out the door on that one.
This is supposed to be his breakout year, and it just never happened.
Yeah, and Emmanuel Quickly, I don't like him coming into the series banged up the way that he is, because he's a 37% 3-point shooter, 17 points a game, and I think you're going to need every point, because I think the Cavs are going to try to run it up. Now, Scotty Barnes, better defender than he gets credit for. Which RJ Barrett is going to show up? Is it going to be the RJ that is ineffective in jacking shots? Because when they came into the season, my thought was, can him and Brandon Ingram play together? And they finished as the 5 seed, so maybe they can. But I think that Toronto just isn't consistent enough. But the thing they do have going for them is they are 5th in the league in defensive rating, so they can give Cleveland problems that way. The problem is that we talk about James Harden and his playoff failures. This is the first round. I ain't got to worry about that for another round, at least. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? Evan Mobley and Jared Allen.
I think James Harden, people talk about, he always comes up short in the playoffs. He comes up short against a team that probably was favored. It just say he comes up, it looks so bad when he.
And in a game that you need him.
Yeah, it's a game you need him. Like, hey, we get it. They're the favorites, but we're 2-2. This is tip off of game 5. I need 37, 9, and 9 from you. And he goes 2 for 10. Like,
I just don't know what to expect from Cleveland. I just don't know what to expect. I picked them to go to the finals during the season. I just don't know what to expect. Mobley and Allen haven't played a lot this year together because of injuries. So Dean Wade's been getting a lot of minutes, which helps because that stretches the floor. They don't have Ty Jerome, this year.
They're trying to build Boston West, because obviously Ohio's
right.
West of Massachusetts.
But I think Cleveland is in that same boat.
Boston West, and it was like it didn't pan out because your big two didn't explode and impact the game the way that Boston's, because like not a lot of teams run a lot of American-born white guys in their second unit. Cleveland does. These are just demographic facts. I think they were trying to run like that kind of. We got our starting lineup and our bench, bunch of confident shooters, except they just kept getting injured, and they don't get the ball to They didn't get the ball to Mobley enough over the last couple of seasons anyway. Like they didn't take advantage of what he can do for the team, and it's just that's kind of matriculated to where we are now, where a 4th seed winning a first round matchup against a 5 seed is your ceiling.
Yeah. So end of the third quarter, Orlando 102, Charlotte 71. Give me Cleveland in 7. I just got too many question marks right now about Cleveland. I got to see it. I got to see proof of concept, because it's been such a tumultuous year as far as the lineups, the steadiness of the, I just got to see it in action.
I'll give it to him in 6 because I feel like I think we have Orlando as a gentleman's sweep or sweep, the Detroit series. I think Boston, you gave Philly 2 games.
I gave them 2, yeah.
I gave them 1. Knicks, I got a sweep.
I got Hawks in 7.
Cleveland, I think that'll go 6. I can't call this many teams, your best 16 teams. It can't be that many gentlemen sweeps. So a couple of teams, someone's gonna have to falter. But like for me, I need to default on what guy creates the biggest problem in the matchup. And I just don't feel like, I don't think Detroit has a matchup problem with Orlando, because you're saying like this, I think they're up like 30 right now in the 4th. I don't think Philly has a matchup problem. I don't think Boston has a matchup problem. Philly, Philly just has talent. I think they'll be able to steal the game, and I know Boston's going to give them one. So that might go 6 because I think they'll give them one, and then Philly, when it be coming back game 4 in Philly, they pull that one off. Something along those lines. They go back to Boston, they lose 2.
Yeah, I could see it being 2-2 and
point
Boston
being
just
2-2.
winning it out,
Or
from that point.
Even Boston goes up 3-0, I feel like they'll be able to squeeze, 1 or 2 there. So it's always up in the air. I just think with like you said with the Raptors and Cleveland, this is their Super Bowl. This is their NBA championship this round. Whatever happens, it's like, hey, I think we exceeded expectations, or with Cleveland, when they win, this is gonna be the end of the form.
Well, so and that's the thing. Like, I think Cleveland might be in that same New York category where, like, I don't know what they're going to keep if they don't make it through this year to at least the Eastern Conference Finals. Because you got to remember, last year they won 64 games. They were the 1 seed. They were on OKC's ass most of the year for best record. And Donovan Mitchell, there's already like rumblings about, are they going to re-sign him? There's already
in that locker room.
Yeah.
What at the end of the second round, if you're a GM in the NBA right now, you should be looking at the draft prospects and whatever happens in Cleveland. Evan Mobley be a nice piece for a team like the Clippers.
Well, no, I don't know, because I got Cleveland beating Detroit in the second round, but you know what I'm saying? So championship pick?
I mean, is Boston OKC the matchup we all expect?
I think that's the matchup we want.
I had no idea. I thought there was no way Jason Tatum was coming back.
I think that's the matchup we want.
Early, I was like, I did the math. I was like, okay, he tore his Achilles in May. And we were saying Kyrie tore his ACL in March, right? That was like one of, like, we were talking about okay. So Kyrie tore his ACL in March. We were saying best case scenario, Kyrie will be back doing basketball activity.
Yeah, I was saying around January, maybe a little bit before the All-Star break.
With the team in January, and then maybe he's in a game in February. That's what we're saying for Kyrie with an ACL. And that injury happens a lot more often in sports, and we've seen guys come back. So I think we have a bigger sample size of guys tearing ACLs and coming back. Like football, especially contact sports, aggressive sports. There was no way I thought Tatum was coming back when he came back. He came back March.
Mm-hmm.
He played like 16 or 17 games or something along those lines. There was no way I thought that. So that's why I picked Detroit. So I was like, I don't really have the faith in the Knicks that I should have for a person who lives as close as I do to Madison Square Garden. I just figured Detroit was the most complete team. I think everyone kind of filled their role. I felt like they have an advantage physically at every role. But with Jason Tatum coming back, probably a little bigger because he probably couldn't work out as much, but now working himself into shape, teams winning games, he doesn't have to exhaust himself because Jaylen Brown carried the load all year long. I think Boston OKC is a foregone conclusion, but if it's Detroit San Antonio, I wouldn't be surprised. But anything outside of Boston or Detroit representing the East and OKC or San Antonio representing the West, I'd be surprised.
So I think Boston OKC is the quintessential battle of the Titans from a status standpoint. They are, the last 2 NBA champions as well. So, like, I think when you're looking at it from that standpoint, it could be a thing because even with the Knicks beating Boston last year, up until Tatum got hurt, like, I think people still expected Boston to come back and win that series. And looking at
that game until he got hurt.
And well, they were down 9 when he got hurt. And you know what I mean?
I thought they were going to hit a 3 that possession, get the ball back. I thought they were going to win.
And I think this year people are ready to pick Boston over the Knicks. You know what I mean? So like for me, I've been team Denver from day one. They're coming into the playoffs on a 12-game winning streak. So I'm gonna stick with the Nuggets. You know, the only team that gave before Indiana, they were the team in the West that gave OKC the battle last year. They got better. OKC's got some. Let's see what J Dub looks like. So I think I'm gonna go Denver. I picked Cleveland originally to start the season, but yeah, give me Denver, Boston. I think I'm gonna go Denver, Boston, and Denver win the title.
It's interesting. I just feel like I feel like the backpack is too big for Jokic in that moment. Not that I don't think he can't carry it.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he'd have to carry a load that the other guys just simply don't have to carry, and I think their teams are deeper. I think OKC is probably one of the only teams in the playoffs that can go 10 deep in their rotation and crunch time moments in the playoffs. I think Jared McCain can get quality minutes and play off like I think it just I that's the difference.
Yeah.
I think OKC can play 10 guys with confidence. The guys on the floor are confident, the coaches are confident in it, and the brass of the team is like, okay, we're good with this. I don't know if the other teams can do that.
Okay.
That's the difference.
Okay. All right. So now it's award time. You know, let's get right to it. So, you know, Luka and Cade Cunningham were able to get their waivers approved. So they are eligible for things like All NBA and all those type of awards.
Me and my dad had a nice little, I won't say heated conversation, but he's an old school guy, born 1957, 20 years in the Army, living in tents in the Bavarian mountains, frostbite, like just you work, you earn it. If you work, you earn it. You work, you earn it. I'm like, listen, Pops, I joined the Air Force and they told me, listen, if you want to go in right now, we need you to do some stuff for us. We need you to in order to overlook some of these things that we got going on over here, we need this. So you gotta score this high on your ASVAB. You gotta ace these interviews because you trying to leave right now. We're not trying to put anybody, you know, all these other things. I'm trying to make the Air Force do something for me. So I got to be a little bit, you know, above average, a little bit closer extraordinary to get in. And I did all that. And they were like, all right, cool. I think the NBA was like, listen, Luka's one of our extraordinary players. We are going to lean and bend the rules for him because of that fact. And I think the NBA PA doesn't mind because we were talking about the max versus super max, all NBA contract clauses. The NBA PA doesn't mind because Luka's probably going to be, without looking at the numbers, just kind of just spitballing. I think Luka could probably be one of those guys that signs an extension that's probably $65 million a year. If I had to guess, because we got Jaylen Brown's over 300.
Tatum's over 300.
Jokic was at 306, 310, something along those lines. SGA, I think he's over 300. I think the Luka All NBA MVP votes, you know, scoring title, all these different awards, puts him in a position where he could be the new Supermax. So you're looking out for guys like Cooper Flag. You're looking out for Jason Tatum's next contract, Jaylen Brown's next contract. Jalen Brunson gave the Knicks a little deal. They're probably looking to recoup some of that. So I think that's why they approved these waivers. Personally, I knew something was going to change because you can't have your marquee guys not being able to have their name on the marquee when it comes to these marquee level awards.
Well, I think so. Anthony Edwards did not get his waiver approved, and it's because of how it's written. You know, the nature of absences. So it talks about, you know, basically like extraordinary circumstances is how it's worded. But the difference between Anthony Edwards and Cade Cunningham is that, and Luka, is that Luka and Cade both played 64 games. And they're giving Luka credit for he missed some games because he had a baby. So that's his extraordinary circumstance. You know,
True.
Kate Cunningham had a fucking collapsed lung. like, you know what I mean? So, like, you know, and he missed it by a game. Whereas Ant missed it by 4 games. He only played 61 games. So I think that went into it as well, where it's like a game we can kind of explain that.
I can bend it for you a little bit. It's like when you get that furniture from IKEA and you tighten the screw down too tight, but you can kind of pull a little bit to get the other screw in. But if you put the wrong thing in, it's like you can't pull that bracket and line the bed up. Like, but if you can get it a little bit, we can get you in there. And on top of that, it's Luka. It's a global guy. It's a global brand. It's a global.
Kate Cunningham's the new kid on the block, number 1 seed.
Number 1 seed. You need a new American face. He looks like he's going to last as the face. Like a guy like Trae Young, undersized guys are going to want to play like him. Kate Cunningham, he's going to be the prototype going forward. Like Kate Cunningham, Jason Tatum, 6'8", 6'7", guard, handle the ball, leading team to number 1 seed, grinding it out, that didn't switch teams. So I think the NBA is looking at like, listen, you can be mad at us for 2 days. What is it? Friday, we're looking at 10:05. By the time the playoffs starts, no one's going to care that these couple of guys got their waivers.
Right. So, all right, let's get right into this. MVP, who you got?
I'm going to go on a limb and say Jokic.
Okay.
He's not going to win it. I'm just going to say Jokic. I think he deserves it. I don't think your past success should falter you from being not considered going forward. Like, I got my haircut today. My barber cut my hair well last year as well. I can't be like, well, I'm not going to tip you this year because you would cut my hair good for the last few years. Like, nah, you getting to say, because like you are consistent with your cut, you're consistent with your time, you're consistent with the ambiance, you're consistent with everything I require of a good quality haircut. This is what you get. I think Jokic has been that. So I'm going Jokic.
So my problem with Jokic is, so of course, you know, first player ever to lead the league in rebounds and assists per game in the same season. First center and everything, all that. He's averaging a triple-double for the 2nd straight year. Denver, he missed some games this year. Like he made the 65 game rule by playing 20 minutes in the last game of the season. So Mr. Logical is, I know, but Mr. Logical is Mr. You know, availability is the best ability. So I have to take that into consideration.
Yeah, but they
also went 10-4 without him or something like that.
They're not a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament without Jokic.
You know,
like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's
I don't know if that's true this year though, because you know, and plus this year, you know, they missed Gordon for a while too, so that helps his argument a little bit.
He's the good guy.
You know, whereas with SGA, he's just doing these Jordan-esque things. You know what I mean? Like 4 straight years, averaging at least 30 points and 50% shooting. And then on top of that, it's not just 30 and 50. He's averaging 31, and he's averaging it on 55.3% from the field. Now, the problem that I have with SGA, you know, you got to give him credit, right? Because he's the head of the snake, if you will. So without him, you know, OKC is still a good team. But when you add the factor of him, they just become unbeatable. Wemby, you know, I don't like the minutes restriction, even though when you look at both sides of the ball, there's probably nobody that's impacting the game the way that he does, just from a full basketball playing standpoint. So correct. I think he should get some votes. I just wouldn't make him my MVP because of the minutes restriction. Kate Cunningham got hurt, but I feel like I got to mention him because the fucking Detroit Pistons are the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Jaylen Brown, you know, he kind of fizzled at the end. You know, if we were having this conversation 3 weeks ago,
I think he manages energy towards the end.
Yeah, I mean, you had to work Tatum back into things. He got
He
banged up
understood the
himself.
he understood the politics of it. He understood the position. He had an interview and he was talking about it, but realistically, I think he's a smart chess playing rocket scientist who works for NASA. He knows
So
the politics of the NBA.
the thing that I hate about awards like MVP and awards like the Heisman is that a lot of people, when they vote or when we have these conversations, they ignore the whole first 70% of the season, and then they focus on what happened down the stretch, which makes sense to some
With the
degree
Heisman,
because that's like where's your Heisman moment? If he wins this game against Alabama, if he wins the ACC championship, if they like, it's
when was
always
the Penn
those
State Indiana game? Week 9 was it?
somewhere around there. They still had like 3 or 4 games left after that.
But I think that's kind of standard for NCAA, though. That's the thing. It's very consistent with they look for the Heisman moment,
Right.
and normally that moment occurs between weeks 8 and 12, and it's normally the same situation. Either you went off against a rival, 220 yards
But
rushing,
it's only a
400 yards
Heisman
as a
moment
quarterback.
because of your record in that game. You could do the same thing 5 weeks ago against Michigan, and that game still put you in the playoff. But since you weren't 8-0, you were 3-0 or whatever. Like
But
saying, and that's my problem with MVP is that like so for Jokic, right?
there's no consistent with MVP.
Yeah. With Jokic, you have to just look at the last month of the season. Denver's coming into the playoffs on a 12-game winning streak. You have to factor that into your scenario. But you also have to think about it where they're only the 3 seed because Luka got hurt. They weren't going to have the 3 seed. Then you have, like I said, SGA. He's missed some games. Oklahoma City's looked good, even when he didn't play. So in my mind, I want to give it to Jaylen Brown, but I think at this point it might have to just be SGA.
If you
And
think about it, like so, real quick, so if we go to NBA 1970 to 71 season, hell, we go back to 65.
okay,
No, realistically,
okay,
now it sounds crazy, but it was Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Oscar Robertson was an outlier, Wes Unseld was an outlier, Willis Reed was an outlier, Dave Cohen, McAdoo, Bill Walton, Julius Irvin. But it was Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Moses Malone, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Tim Duncan, then LeBron, Steph Curry. Yeah. So like for the most part, Jokic,
yeah.
for the most part, it's like 14 guys that
You
won
see,
it a lot.
y'all heard that, right? Y'all heard that out there, right? This man said all that and didn't even mention the dude that won MVP 3 years in a row.
Oh, Larry Bird. No, the screen I'm looking at, it cut it up. So like so like his name is at the bottom of one. But like, yeah, so you got Larry Bird. So the award recently, I think they've been trying to, I won't say move it around,
spread the love,
but I think Jokic's first one should have gone to Giannis, but Giannis didn't win a championship the year before, so they carry it forward. I think Michael Jordan from 1990 to 1999,
just 8 in a row, huh? Like
like the 2 years that he didn't play, he probably still got some votes. But for the most part, like unless those 2 years, he should have probably had 6 in that time with ease. But the way the voting goes, so it's not a new way that they're voting this way because Kevin Durant has one, Shaq has one,
Kobe has one.
Mm-hmm. Dirk has one, but Steve Nash has 2. So currently, we talked about this last year where you and I had a conversation where we had 3 different people that we made. Maybe it was a couple years ago for when Jokic won it. Yeah, so when Jokic won in 23-24, you and I had a conversation where we had 3 different people we felt like had a real shot. But when the voters get it, they get this spreadsheet and they all just pick one guy. I'm not knocking SGA for having the best team, but he does have like the best team. And I understand that his value, if you ignore his team and you say, hey, this everything that he's doing leads to wins, then that looks like there's a lot of value. But he also has multiple guys 6'11" and taller that play in the rotation. He has a few 3-and-D defenders, like guys who shoot threes and play defense. Most guys are begging for one guy like that. He has like 2 or 3. Alex Caruso doesn't even look at the rim, just plays on-ball defense. So like they're so covered from top to bottom on everything you need to win at basketball that I think without him, they're 55-27.
Well, see, like with Jokic, for example, he's always going to have the video game numbers. He's always going to be Mr. Analytics. And I
need him to have
but I think that's where reputation comes in. Because if you look at this season, you know, like previous years, we just talked about it a little while ago, when he's on the court, when he's off the court. This year, they went something like 10-4 at one point without him. You know what I mean? So like from that standpoint, like to a degree, we're holding on to the past seasons and we're ignoring that Jamal Murray had the best season of his career. You know, we're ignoring that they went out and got the shooters this year. So when he was out, you had your Tim Hardaway Jr.'s, you had Bruce Brown's steadiness and all that stuff that kept the team afloat while he was out, because we're focused on
the OKC roster with
OKC. No, you're 100% right about OKC. I'm not going to argue against that.
Yeah,
you know, and OKC has a good record when SGA didn't play. You know, the Spurs were something like I don't know what they finished as, but around early at one point this year, the Spurs were 11-3 without Wemby. So it can't just be as simple as, you know, if they weren't on the team, they would be, you know, like so that's where I think it comes down to it. And I think that if you just peel everything away on how they normally give MVP, it's only Jokic and SGA in this conversation. You know what I mean? But I think that Jaylen Brown, for example,
should have a bigger piece.
Yeah, because I think because I had this argument with somebody a few years ago where they were telling me Chris Paul doesn't score enough to win MVP. And because Steve Nash won those MVPs,
and I agree,
didn't win a championship.
Like the Steve Nash getting MVP the 2 years, especially one of those years, I think Kobe averaged 34 and LeBron averaged 31. And one of the years that he won MVP,
and that's where
year, and it was like,
and that's where people like me, because me and Jack had this argument the other day, is that if that's the case, then just give the MVP to the scoring champion. But there's other factors that go into a basketball game. Like there's other things. So like Chris Paul, for example, like if you just go back and look at every team he played for, just about what they were before he showed up, and then what they were the first year that he was there. Like he even took that young OKC team to the playoffs in the bubble.
And that's my argument for Terrell Owens, because like Terrell Owens, people call him a diva, but every single quarterback had their career years with TL on the outside and got big contracts because of it. Yeah, so I understand what you mean.
Yeah,
he never got an MVP vote.
And Chris Paul, like I think, you know, Kobe got the makeup MVP because he should have got one of Nash's. But I think in that process, they took away the MVP that Chris Paul deserved that year with New Orleans. They went like 56-26, you know, but they owed Kobe an MVP, so that's how it worked out. But Rookie of the Year, Mr. Logical, pretty much a two-man race. Con Knipple, Cooper Flag. I don't remember a time where the college teammates ended up in a battle like this.
Especially when they didn't win a national championship, which is strange.
Yeah. So who you got?
I'll go Co.
Oh.
I'm a cop out because like I was talking to Ava about this earlier. It's like the voting formula is a point system. I'm not sure exactly how all the math works out, but I think realistically, if enough people are getting ballots, there should be a balance to where you can't definitively tell me that Con Knipple season was demonstrably better than Cooper Flag's, or Cooper Flag's season was that much better than Con Knipple's.
Yes, I can.
The team success was one thing, and I get team success.
Yes, I can.
But as far as like them and their play as individual players, because it's not a team award, it's individual award. I'm gonna cop out and go but I will yield to your expertise on who you selected.
So this is my thing, right? So Con Knipple, him and Melo came down the stretch, shooting all the threes. I don't know. So like the team success. Let's start there. Let's start with the team success. So I don't like that argument unless your team did something. Because, I mean, Charlotte's still here in the play-in game. You know what I mean? So it's not like they finished as the 5 seed like Toronto did.
They had, someone extrapolated the numbers basically saying if they would have started playing this way,
they would have been on a 55 win pace.
55-game win.
Yeah. So Con Knipple led the league in 3-pointers. Obviously broke the rookie record, right? So, but I would also say that's a product of the style of play of today's game. Cooper Flag, on the other hand, led his team in points, rebounds, assists, and steals as a rookie. And, the last person and only other person to do that, Michael Jordan. So you, and then you factor in, and obviously he wouldn't have if Anthony Davis didn't get hurt / traded. Kyrie never came back.
I cannot believe they traded AD. The whole, I mean, if you want to go to Vegas that bad, just invest in a team that's going to Vegas.
Well, they're talking about building a new arena in Dallas now, but
if I'm a fan, I'm not going. I'm not voting for it.
But Cooper Flag, he also had that back-to-back, 45-point, 50-point game. So I think that his effect as a basketball player, because when I think of Rookie of the Year, I think more individual than I do the MVP, because with the MVP, I consider what seed your team was, expectations coming into the season. But when it's Rookie of the Year, you're just coming into the league. So I want to see how you adapt and come into the league. And that's where I look at Cooper Flag and I go, oh, this guy is going to be a problem for years to come. I look at Con Knipple and I'm like, but what if he has an off season shooting the ball? How does he affect the game in any other way? And that's where I kind of lean back towards Cooper Flag. Defensive Player of the Year. I think that Wemby should win it unanimously. This is the one time to be a hypocrite where I feel like it should be unanimous. I think Chet Holmgren's going to get some votes, but it goes back to your SGA argument. Chet Holmgren is the tone setter on a great defense. The Spurs have a good defense and a manageable defense just because Wemby is there. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, here's some stuff for you, Mr. Logical. I had to get into the chambers with this one. So Wemby, we talked about this. He literally impacts every possession. And then when you look at the numbers, he had 44 more blocks than the person that finished second, Jay Huff. You know what I mean? But Chet Holmgren, finished third. Scotty Barnes, who I said was underrated on defense, finished closer to Chet from number 6 to number 3 than number 2 was to number 1. At BetMGM, Wimby is negative 10,000, in odds.
So you have to bet $10,000 to win 100. That's what that means.
So, all right, you ready for my 2-5 moment?
Let's hear it.
So earlier I had a 2-5 question. This is a 2-5 statement. Wimby is the defensive version of Steph. Wow. You have to know where he is at all times. He affects everything. It doesn't matter where he is. He can hurt you. And you're trying your best to keep the ball away from him. So even though he's on defense, you're trying to keep the ball away from him because he will take it from you or he's going to swat it in the crowd.
He looks for it.
Yes.
I think they played a game where he said if he walked in the locker room, and I know records aren't the thing, but if he was like, you know what? I want to go for 20 blocks this game. Don't give me the ball on offense. I just want to use all my energy on defense. Funnel everything to me. I want to get 20 blocks. I think he would actively be able to pursue that. Granted, 20 blocks is crazy, but I think the way he plays defense, because he can defend anybody's shot. He can't defend anybody body to body. Like we see what Jokic did to him with the size. We even saw what's the young boy that ended up going to Memphis, a light-skinned guy. And like that, the USA versus France a couple years ago, Kenny
Lofton Jr.
Kenny Lofton Jr., yeah. So we understand he has a liability there, but like, listen, God doesn't give it both hands. You can't just have everything. So as far as like what he does defensively, the way he impacts it, because even if it's shot you wanted to take, say you come off a screen and you want to shoot a floater, if he's outside of the paint, you can't shoot that floater. You can't get to the rim. You can't shoot that floater. So now you got to reset and try to get the ball to the other side of the court. Takes up more time, messes up your offensive flow. Hence why they're the number 2 seed in the West.
Yep. So then you got 6 man of the year. So I broke this down to Tim Hardaway Jr., Jaime Jaquez, Keldon Johnson, Reed Shepherd, and AJ Mitchell. So those are the guys that that I was looking at for this award. AJ Mitchell, hard to judge, because he improved a lot, but it's just so hard to gauge people on OKC, because they just have so much that it's just so hard to.
It's like you jump into a tug of war match.
Yeah, I just don't know what you're providing.
It's like,
because I almost feel like. Well, I almost feel like if Jarrett McCain had started the season there versus getting traded there, he could have been in the conversation.
I think they said like they extrapolated his numbers like per 100 possessions based off how Philly wasn't using him, or when Philly was using him as a rookie, he was averaging something like 19 points a game.
Yeah, he had a couple of 30-point games.
So OKC, they took it, extrapolated those numbers across 100 possessions. He was doing the same thing. So it was more of an indictment on Nick Nurse saying he couldn't figure out where to put him in the game, but it was like OKC put him in, and he's doing exactly the same thing he was doing with Philly last year. But yeah, he would have got a lot of votes, not only because he's popular, he's flashy, does all the TikToks and everything else, but he could just straight up score the basketball. So that would have stood out more in OKC versus a guy who just comes in and plays great defense. So I think Jaime Jaquez for Miami does not have a lot of scores, so having the guy come off the bench averaging 15 points, that's probably like in a system that's not really, they're not known for like running up the score. They're like system, defense, rebounding, playing sound. Post LeBron, they weren't on this Showtime running the score up. So having a guy coming off the bench with that ability to score, average over 15 points a game, then yeah, I would go with Jaime Jaquez from Miami.
Yeah, I'm going with Jaquez as well. I wrote in my note that, and this is a little tongue in cheek, but he's starting to look a little Jimmy Butler-esque. Like he's starting to replace a lot of the things that Jimmy Butler provided for them. It might not look the exact same, but he's just Mr. Do Everything for them. And this was the one that sold me. He led all bench players in the league in scoring and total assist. Keldon Johnson, I think Keldon Johnson gets some votes, because of the leadership. the San Antonio turnaround, them winning over 60 games. So I think he's
Dylan
going to
Harper
get some
comes up
votes just because
too.
of that. I
Like their
think that
second unit is pretty solid. Like the unit in and of itself is a good unit.
Tim Hardaway Jr. I don't really see much difference.
He's a
And
veteran. Like as a
yeah,
veteran coming off the bench, like I think you either have to have like a crazy level impact. You have to have a
right.
Jamal Crawford kind of impact, a Lou Williams, where it's like you are instant offense off the bench. You are
Hmm.
18 to 19 points off of the bench. You get, starters minutes towards the end of the game. Because that's what Lou Williams, because I think he talked about on an interview, was like, yeah, I'll come off the bench because at the end of the game, I'm still getting like 28 minutes. 28 to 30 minutes, and I'm getting every shot I want with the second unit. So it's like it's no different. I just don't start.
Right. And then we got the Suns up 13-5 on Golden State early. And, shout out to Jalen Green. Houston got rid of him. They lost the other night, but, he had 32 points. Coach of the year. So I wrote down a bunch of names for this one. I wrote down Joe Mazzulla, JB Bickerstaff, Mitch Johnson, Charles Lee, Quinn Snyder. And I got a wild card that I didn't mention that I'm going to add to the conversation. Who you got?
Toss up between the top three candidates right now, and I think whoever has the better litigator could advocate and argue for them and sway a voter. Because Missoula lost Jason Tatum, but he still had a max player.
But he lost all those other guys that I mentioned earlier, too.
Yeah, and he lost his role players, and they didn't replace the role players like apples for what Cornette did, what Horford did, what Porzingis did, and who else did?
Drew Holiday.
Drew Holiday. So they didn't replace those guys apples for what those guys were able to contribute. And he lost Jason Tatum due to injury, but he still had a max player, and they still had his philosophy. I thought he should have probably gotten more Coach of the Year votes throughout his time in Boston, but because when you have two superstars, it's kind of hard. So when you roll out there with a max player,
unless you're Phil Jackson,
and you start off well, that's the other thing. It's like you just start off, you just hit the ground running.
Yeah.
So it just felt like, oh, Boston's just Boston. And you don't always look at the fact that, someone has to coach these things. Someone has to make these adjustments because, that this is Boston just being Boston. It's like, let's talk about it. I'm one of them. It's like being a good dad. It's like, oh, you're just a good dad. But it's like, it'll take a lot of work to do this. Like, it's a lot of effort. It's a lot of things that you have to keep on top of and everything else. But like, oh, you're just a good dad. Like, every year you're a good dad. Like, you have great birthday gifts for your kids. You plan all the, hey, you're a good dad. But it's like, yeah, every year shit changes. Shit gets more expensive. The trips get longer. The cars get more expensive. The car insurance goes up. All of these things happen. But it's like, you've been a good dad. So like anything that comes your way, you'll just handle it. And I think that's what Missoula's in that position now, where it's like, oh, you've been a top tier coach. You won a championship. You've been to 2 NBA championships. Like, you've been on the staff that's been to 2 NBA championships. You consistently Eastern Conference Finals. We just expect you to do that. Bickerstaff, differently, Detroit's been known as a team that's kind of come up short. I think he will get more votes. Mitch Johnson in San Antonio, you're the guy replacing a legend. We always talk about how difficult that is, but you do have the unicorn as one centerpiece, and then you have a good unit around you. So it's going to be tough. I'm going to get an edge to Missoula just because Tatum's injury was like the biggest piece. Any voter who didn't even watch basketball can say, yo, he had his best player out, and they were never, I think they probably were first or second probably all year long.
Yeah, they started them and the Knicks kind of threw second back and forth to each other. Detroit ran away with it early, and
Yeah.
of course, they finished number 2. Yeah, to your point, Boston was like when all that drama happened, they were coming off the finals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so yeah. So I think initially that first year, people were looking at Missoula as, you got the keys to the Corvette. You know what I mean? And then when they actually won the title, it was like, oh, but Jason Tatum, whatever, like Jaylen Brown came out of his mind, like, so it's hard for him to get that credit. I think that it's going to come down to him and Bickerstaff. I think that's where we're going to land because Bickerstaff ended up with the 1 seed. I think that Charles Lee deserves some consideration, at least, like, I mean, they were in the play-in, but it's Charlotte. Quinn Snyder, Atlanta came on after the trade. So if we're doing my whole, let's look at the full season, you know what I mean? Then I can't really go there because they benefited from the trade deadline. So the name,
because you're starting the race halfway through. Like you're starting the 400 meter race you're at 250 and everybody
right, but that's the problem. Everybody else has already been killing it the whole time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think if you catch up, you deserve a little credit for that.
So the name that I was going to add is another play-in coach, Jordan Ott from the Phoenix Suns. You look at that roster. No Kevin Durant. You know what I mean? The whole Bradley Beal debacle, he's gone now. They brought in Dylan Brooks in that Durant trade. Jalen Green, who got, left on the highway hitchhiking. But and not much of, but
number 2 overall pick.
Yeah, but not much in the front court. So like Phoenix was a team that I don't think many people had even making it this far. Like even if they lose tonight, I don't think people had Phoenix making it this far. So for me, I value that. You know what I mean? And I also, the other candidates can't help it, but he's a first-time head coach as well. So
but does it hurt him that? I mean, if you take the Clippers were 42-40 in the West. Overall, they're Western Conference team in the 9 seed. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 were all under 500. Does it hurt him that the conference wasn't that competitive? Because it's very top heavy. You have OKC, Spurs, Nuggets. Down to the Rockets all have 50 plus wins. But we'll stop at just OKC and the Spurs, 64, 62 wins. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams that were, pretty much near 500. Does that hurt the Phoenix coach's argument? Like, hey, your conference was kind of buns.
Well, no, it's the other way around, I think. So OKC won 64 games. San Antonio won 62. Denver won 54. The Lakers won 53. Even Minnesota as your 6th seed won 49 games. So, like, Phoenix finishing 45-37.
I'm just saying, did you get a lot of like cherry picked wins off of teams 9 through 15?
Maybe, but think about it like this:
get a handful of wins off teams.
But think about it like this:
is a little better.
Miami made the play-in with 43 wins, right?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You got Washington with 17 wins, Indiana with 19. So like Brooklyn with 20. So from that standpoint,
that's why you wouldn't vote Spoelstra. That's what I mean. Like that's why you probably wouldn't vote Spoelstra.
Well, no, I'm not saying that he should win the award or anything. I'm just saying that like he should at least get an honorable mention for.
He should get a contract.
You know what I'm saying? Well, I mean, it's only year 1, but you
should get paid.
But so I think that all things created equal, I'm gonna go with Bickerstaff. I like the Missoula angle. But I think that's
just a piece that people remember. Well, I think that's the piece that the assistant to the voter will remember.
But
Because
I
that's
just
who gives
know.
the information to the voter.
But going back to the beginning, right? This was supposed to be the next year. You know what I mean? You had Cleveland that coming off of winning 64 games last year, coming into this season feeling pretty good without Jason Tatum there, so on and so
So
forth.
Bickerstaff just squashed all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, because like realistically speaking, Detroit, they won the East by 4 games, so it wasn't like
we probably had this conversation about them before. This is like before Tatum even was coming back.
right.
So I think Detroit had a grip on the East for a long time.
You know what? I'll put it like this:
punched a lot of dudes in the face literally throughout the season. I think they had a lot of guys, just punching dudes and throwing them in the stands all year long. So
I put it like this: everybody's still hung up on how dominant OKC is. Detroit won the East by more games than OKC won the West. I'll put it like that. You know what I mean? And like all things created equal.
The second round of the playoffs are going to be lit. The first rounds are going to be get your popcorn.
Mm-hmm.
You can still probably watch a movie on Netflix on your phone. Matter of fact, you might be able to watch Netflix on your TV and watch the game on your phone. Because I think a lot of these games aren't going to really hold up. The second round, each conference, it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be a war. It's going to be a war. And I don't know if they're going to negotiate to stop their uranium.
They're gonna just block the block the TV or whatever the hell is going on. So great vengeance and furious anger. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that brings us to our last award, the most improved player. So I got Jalen Duren, Nikhil Walker-Alexander, Ryan Rollins, and Denny Avdia. What say you?
I think Jalen Duren, first place team. Portland wasn't expected to be, so Denny Avdia. I want to get a big some love. I'm gonna go Jalen Duren.
Okay.
I think people kind of forget that having a big changes how you can manage basketball games. Like I was watching my son's high school basketball game. He was a big, and they would go small ball. I'm like, we'll put the big in. That way, one of these small guys has to battle the big for the rebound. Like, it's cool to have all these guys that can shoot. But if you don't put a big in there that can rebound or a big in there that can deter you from sending your tiny point guard down the lane, there's nothing you can do about it. So, like, shout out to the bigs. I'm going to go Jalen Duren. Because I think, for me, I'm a logical guy. I think having a guy that's 6 foot, anywhere from 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" near the rim, getting the ball and an opportunity to score is better than a guy 6'5" shooting a 30-foot jump shot. I'm not crazy. I just figure getting a guy that can go down there, battle and rebound, defend the rim, run the paint, get the lob passes, and just I think it's more demoralizing to have a guy dunk on you, a la Shaq. And what's the boy name he pushed into the crowd? Chris something.
Chris Dudley.
Chris Dudley. When he dunked on him, you think what's worse? Shaq hitting a 3 in your face or Shaq dunking on you, putting his legs around your sternum and then pushing you into the crowd in front of your children?
Yeah.
I think the getting dunked on and getting pushed in front into the photographers, the cheerleaders are there.
And all he could do was throw the ball at him.
Because there's Shaq said all the gorillas in the zoo go crazy when they see him. I'm not running up on Shaq. Charles Barkley's the only dude that's ever ran up on Shaq. And he did a little mad when he scooped him.
Yeah. So I got a problem here because 2 of my favorite players are on this list. Denny Avdia, who the Wizards should have never got rid of, and Nikhil Walker-Alexander. Those are my 2 guys. So you got to play process of elimination.
His cousin's getting all awards. They have enough stuff.
Yeah. So this is where you break it down, Mr. Logical. So 2 of these dudes made their first All-Star game this year. That's Jalen Duren and Denny Avdia. So there you go. Ryan Rollins, because we ain't talk about him much at all, but besides Giannis, he had the best on-off court differential on the Bucks. Even though they were a sorry team, that's important because a lot of people couldn't pick Ryan Rollins out of a lineup. So I think that as I look at this, um, I think that Denny Avia has more impact than Jalen Duren from the standpoint of obviously Cade Cunningham is what makes Detroit go, and Duren is a real dependent on Cade Cunningham's creation for him. When I look at Denny Avia, I go back to what I was saying when we were previewing the series. Scoot didn't play until February. Shaden Sharp, missed, pretty much the last month of the season. So, like, he had to put the backpack on, if you will, to kind of get Portland to the playoffs. Like, obviously, you had Drew Holiday doing the dirty work, the little things, Tamani Kamara, helping out on defense. But I'm going to go with Avia just because I think that.
You think the Trailblazers success traveled through his play? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that you could put a serviceable big on Detroit.
Could you put DeAndre Ayton in Durant's place? They go to first?
Maybe.
With his attitude. It's like
maybe not the attitude. Maybe they finished third. Yeah. But Denny Avia, you take him off Portland. I think they're back, in the lottery. And so I mean, I don't know. Like
that's a good argument. But like I said, you would have to be the assistant to the voter in Boston who didn't stay up late to watch Portland play.
Right.
In order to like argue that point.
Which is the other problem.
And the game came on like 9:50.
Yeah, Golden State is down 31-15 right now with 40 seconds left in the first quarter.
So like we had 10:46. Granted, it's Friday, but it's 10:46. I mean, that game started at 9:50.
It started at 10.
10.
Yeah.
So it was like if you want to get, granted, I get it. People should be able to stay awake and watch whatever sport they're watching, they're reporting on. But that's a very
tough
thing itself.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is win or go home for Golden State. You know what I mean? Like if you lose, you get into that lottery, shout out to OKC because since Golden State beat the Clippers the other day, OKC gets the Clippers lottery pick. So there you go with that. We'll see what happens with Portland, but nah, man, like that's just crazy to think about. The Clippers, and I saw Stephen A's hyperbolic. Kawhi is the worst superstar ever.
Yeah, like when you sent it to me, when I replied the way that I replied, I knew you would understand, but like. I'm still I think in my estimation, because we talked about this before and we talked about it with sports media aside from our show. I think the championship or bust responsibilities that pundits bestow upon players is just mathematically not realistic. And no one ever looks at, listen, I get it that he lost. Like you talk about Jalen Green, he dropped 32 points. It's like, hey, he's not guarding the guy that dropped 40. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, he dropped 32 points. He can't do anything about the guy who dropped 40 and they lost the game, whatever the case may be. So for him to say he's the worst superstar, maybe you guys anointed him as a superstar when he just wanted the ball. And then you leverage expectations on him that were Kobe, Jordan, LeBron, Magic Johnson level.
I don't think that Kawhi should have ever been viewed as a superstar. Like,
as am I. I've never felt that. I never felt that way either. But I think after he got Finals MVP in the 2013 NBA Finals, and then he went to Toronto and everybody got injured. First of all, he got away with the travel against Philly. I'm never going to let that down. Shout out to the 76ers. I think the expectation was, he's going to be the first guy to win a championship with the third team and win Finals MVP. So
And then
what
LeBron beat him and did it in
and
the
people
same
stop
city.
talking about that thing as they stopped talking about it as like a thing that you can do, but it's like,
Well,
that's what superstars do. They do that thing. They do what Jordan did, where
so
you come back and you wear 45 and someone says 45 is not the same as 23, and then you change your number before the in between games and your team pays the fine and you go out there and you bust ass. Like, that's the difference. I don't think Kawhi was never that guy. I think Kawhi is more Kevin Durant as far as his approach to basketball as a public sanctioned job. But Durant has just been, I think Durant's just better. So when Durant's like, yo, I just want a ball, and Kawhi doesn't say anything, well, like, well, we put you in the superstar ring. Look, Kawhi's like, I don't care. Like, I just came here to play basketball. And that's it. And so when Stephen A said it, I think sometimes he says stuff to just get us to clickbait and say his name and talk about it. But ultimately, like, I understood what he meant, but he's like, really what he meant is like, you didn't come up, you came up short on my and the other media members' expectation of you as a superstar.
See, and apparently, if you want to believe it, Kevin Durant's questionable for game one. Anthony Edwards questionable for game one. But real quick, we'll wrap this up. So Kawhi, right? He got his first Finals MVP, the one that you brought up, because LeBron averaged 28, 8, and 8 instead of 31, 10, and 13 or something like that.
Yeah. I think it might have been higher than that, but also I think one game San Antonio hit the most threes
in
the NBA Finals games ever.
They did, and then that was game 3
and
actually.
AC off in game 1.
Mm-hmm.
So LeBron got cramps.
So my thing with Kawhi on the backside of that.
I know Mike want to say something. Come on, I know you heard me say it.
So that's my first Finals, critique of Kawhi. I think that when he won the title in Toronto, obviously Kevin Durant was hurt. Clay got hurt,
5. but hurt Clay in game 6.
But before that, who set the tone in that Finals?
Was Siakam?
It was Siakam, 32 points in game 1. He played the defense in game 1. And I think that Kawhi is the guy that averaged the most points in that for Toronto in that series. I think that Kawhi is the name. He's the guy that we knew. And I'm not necessarily saying that Siakam should have won Finals MVP. But I think you could. But I think you could make
Jason Terry, and I started to believe it after a while.
Well, because with Jason Terry, I feel like he hit the shots. He was even guarding LeBron at times. Dirk was just on that trajectory. And I'm not saying that Dirk played bad by any means either, so don't take it that way. But I just think that Dirk didn't necessarily play like an MVP. I think he was just the leader of the team. So, and he averaged the most points. So you combine those two things, that's your Finals MVP. And I think that's kind of what happened with Kawhi here to a lesser degree, because I think Siakam is he's one of the main cogs and reasons that they won that series outside of the injuries.
Shout out to Danny Green, because if Danny Green doesn't try that chase down dunk block, then Clay doesn't tear his ACL, and I think they forced game 7.
Because I don't think Kawhi in that Finals
97 Jordan.
In that, well, people started that conversation. I think Doc Rivers actually
they said it. They started that conversation because Kawhi,
because he got big hands.
He has big hands and he shoots mid-range jumpers. But granted, we can go down this path. That's one. Kawhi missed the free throw that allowed Ray Allen to hit the 3 in a corner. No one mentions that.
Well, because he was. You know why they don't mention it? They don't mention it because he wasn't Kawhi at the time. You know what I'm saying? He was just a dude on the court.
Won NBA Finals MVP the following year. He didn't become more.
Yeah, but he didn't win the Finals MVP because but theoretically speaking, and I'm only going off of our lifetime here. You know, when you think of Finals MVP,
I just like to say that.
No, I know, but when you think about Finals MVP, you think about Jordan dominating, you think about Shaq dominating, you think about Kobe dominating. Like when Kawhi won that Finals MVP, that was just, we got to give it to somebody because the Spurs won.
Iguodala got the same treatment.
Nah, Iguodala got it for a different reason. He got it for a different reason. Because you got to remember.
That was Steph's MVP.
No, it wasn't. Like so it was Steph MVP if
you just care. Game 5.
That's what I was just about to say. If you just care about scoring, then yes, it's Steph. But you also got to figure that Iguodala didn't start that series. When they put Iguodala into the starting lineup,
they put him in at the Kyrie's kneecap broke.
No. He didn't get to the starting lineup until they were already down 2-1. No, the Warriors were already down 2-1.
Game 1.
Yeah, he broke his knee in game 1. Iguodala didn't start until like game 3, and they were down 2. They went down 2-1. They put the Iguodala LeBron thing. Warriors never lost another game.
And then Curry went 30, 30, and 29 for the
next 3 games. But before he went 30 in game 6, what was the talk of that series? The talk of that series was Steph is choking. I'm not saying it's true, but I'm just saying that was the narrative, you know, because I always talk about the average and he went back to his mean. But the talk was Steph is choking. He's not ready for this stage. So I can't give the dude Finals MVP if I was just yesterday talking about he's not ready for this stage. Yeah. You know what I mean? You know, it has always been about scoring, Mike, because people are lazy and they don't watch the game within the game. You know what I mean? Because there are ways to affect basketball games besides scoring.
Over the game. If you're scoring, for me,
man, fuck that. There was no Kyrie and no Kevin Love.
If there's no scoring,
you can't be Finals MVP because you were down 2-1 without them.
Your scoring goes. We'll talk about LeBron in the Detroit series of East Conference Finals. Granted, NBA Finals version. If you go, was it 26 straight points in fourth quarter and overtime, then it's all about scoring because you're really changing things. And I get it. We love points and we love how that kind of factors in. But the Stephen A comment to pull this back through about Kawhi, it just feels disingenuous because you're complaining about Kawhi's play as if he established this as his standard. Like,
yeah, we was just happy he was playing.
LeBron did that thing in Miami. I keep bringing it back to LeBron because he kind of has these moments where he said not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. Now, when you go back and you recap his Miami time, yes, I think going to 4 straight NBA Finals is a remarkable feat. But you can also call him on his not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. Kawhi's never put the media in the position of where he said, I'm going to do this. Him clamoring for Paul George and still giving Clippers picks to OKC, you can call him on that because he made the deal to want Paul George there.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you think LeBron was the GM, right?
Yeah, because Kawhi's never come out and said, hey, I'm the greatest player. Granted, he had the commercial, he's like, I'm the king of LA, but whatever. But he's never been in the position of where he felt like he was changing the game. Like the Kevin Durant moment. Y'all know who I am. I'm Kevin Durant. Kawhi hasn't had one of those moments. So when Kevin Durant said, you know who I am, I'm Kevin Durant, and then he came back out and dropped 50 on those dudes against the Clippers, and then Lou Will and Pat Bev doing that press conference was like a precursor to podcast for both of them. And he was like, I promise you, we tried. He's like, And then Pat Bev, like you heard him. He said he's
but also you know, and to close my loop, to close my loop, you know, LeBron, you know, saying shot 38% in that series against the Warriors too. So like, you know, saying
he was like 18 for 38. 18.
That's what I'm saying. So like Steph, you know, you went down 2-1. I don't want to hear nothing about you in MVP in the same sentence. I put it like that. But hey, at the end of the day, y'all, the one thing to remember,
the day's going in.
Kawhi is just a fun guy. So he is the one and only world famous, world renowned, cool, calm, and collected. He was born in Texas, raised in VA, representing everything New Jerusalem except for
life. Catch me at the lighthouse.
Except for the New Jersey Devils for some reason. You know, saying he is Mr. Logical. Don't bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
And then, of course, down here in the Alamo is your unorthodox statistician going left so much you thought I was southpaw. Going left so much that Diana Rossini couldn't even catch me. That's how she got Mike Vrabel. I am 2-5. This is Sports Reports Disorder. We will be back on Tuesday. We will have some NBA playoff games in the books to talk about. We will be preparing again for the NFL draft. If you missed our draft show, go back to Tuesday's episode. Check it out. Drop some gems for you. You know what I'm saying? He is Mr. Logical. I'm 2-5. We love y'all. Appreciate you. Boom. Sports Reports is ordered. Is out.
Out from the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk.